My name is Richard Hayes. I'm a supervisory Border Patrol agent here in the Yuma sector. The United States Border Patrol's primary mission is now to prevent terrorists and weapons of mass destruction from entering the United States, as well as to continue on with our traditional mission of enforcing our country's immigration laws.
¿Cómo se llama? Ramón? Okay. Allí.
Yuma, Arizona is home to the busiest border patrol station in the United States. Last year, agents in the sector arrested over 138,000 people who tried to cross into the U.S. illegally.
Anywhere between 400 to 600, maybe sometimes as high as 700 individuals are apprehended in a 24-hour time period. Those individuals will be brought into this area.
The process of deciding the fate of each detainee is made a whole lot easier by biometrics, the science of using biological properties such as fingerprints to identify individuals. For decades, border agents were forced to take fingerprints the old-fashioned way, with ink. Now, those fingerprints are scanned. That can almost instantly reveal whether someone is a felon.
It's really streamlined our processing capabilities and has allowed our agents to easily and quickly identify those individuals that have been arrested in the United States or may have criminal warrants for their arrest.
Dr. Joseph Attic, a pioneer in biometrics, is the CEO and president of Minnesota-based Identics. The company sells fingerprint, facial, and skin biometric systems used for security and identification.
Our body is filled with patterns that are called today biometric patterns that can be imaged and analyzed by algorithms in order to establish your identity.
Dr. Attic has been at the forefront of some of the technology's most significant breakthroughs.
An imaging device or a scanner can take a picture of your fingerprint, and a computer algorithm can analyze the way the different singularities, like the breaks in the finger ridges, and how they relate to each other. So it allows law enforcement to look back in their data and records through a computerized system.
Prior to us utilizing biometrics, it would actually require us to search records telephonically or over the computer based on an individual's name and date of birth. Individuals would commonly use aliases, and it would make our job much more difficult.
What took days, weeks, or even months now occurs in about 5 minutes.
This individual whose fingerprints had just been captured utilizing the IAFIS system, or Integrated Automated Fingerprint Identification System. It compares those prints to previously recorded fingerprints and biometric information and compares that against the FBI database, and will let us know if that individual has a criminal history here in the United States, they have been previously arrested, or they have a criminal warrant for their arrest.
The FBI's database, which holds the fingerprints of 51 million people, is here in Clarksburg, West Virginia. The center processes about 70,000 prints a day, 5,000 of them from the U.S. Border Patrol.
They come into this server, which is our AFIS server. It processes the fingerprints that come in and makes a determination if we have prints on file or not. And we process those 5,000 prints and turn them around in approximately 30 seconds back to the sender. You can only imagine if we had to physically send in the fingerprints, what that would entail. But these are basically dots and dashes, like any type of digital information.
The dots and dashes leave the FBI server and return to Yuma in the form of valuable information.
His fingerprints have indicated, after being compared with those on file with the FBI, that he has been previously arrested in the United States for domestic violence. This individual could possibly be set up for criminal prosecution based upon his criminal history here in the United States.
You lift your fingers.
Biometrics is not just used to identify criminals at the border.
Very nice teamwork.
Andrea LaRosa is a special education teacher in the Macomb County Intermediate School District in Michigan.
They're fingerprinting everybody. As far as I know, they're going to be stored in a database with just some general background information, how much I weigh, what's my height, what's my gender, and that kind of thing. And it doesn't bother me. You never know who's going to be out there. We got to protect our students and our kids. Absolutely.
Teresa Pomeroy is the Human Resources Supervisor in Macomb. Pomeroy says the prints are crucial to determining if an employee has a criminal record.
The one advantage, certainly, is there's a 3 to 5 day turnaround. Before, we used to offer a position conditionally, because with the ink prints, we would wait 4 to 6 weeks.
Macomb is one of many school districts amassing biometric fingerprint databases. Such databases have also become popular in corporate America, particularly in the banking and securities industry. And it's not just fingerprints.
Some of the more recent patterns that have become very useful in establishing human identity include the iris of the eye. And even more recently, it was discovered that the human skin, the face, the texture of that skin is very unique. You can look at the face as a canvas, and the texture of that canvas can establish your identity.
Today, biometric facial recognition is becoming an everyday occurrence at departments of motor vehicles.
There are today about 15 or 16 states that have facial recognition in order to ensure the uniqueness of the identity before they issue the driver's license.
The State Department.
The U.S. Department of State uses facial recognition against 50 million records to check for fraud. It is an inventor's dream come true.
The international arrival gates at some airports.
The last frontier is going to be basically allowing people to travel unobstructed, unhindered, simply using their trusted identity.
Look up here. Look up at the camera.
The Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, whose jurisdiction includes St. Petersburg and Clearwater, Florida, was the first in a growing number of law enforcement agencies across the country using facial recognition biometrics to identify criminals. Police use it when apprehending potential suspects on the street.
It makes it easier by allowing me to quickly identify individuals who are not being truthful about their name.
Or during the booking process. Melvin Burney is brought in for failure to appear in court to answer charges of driving with a suspended license. A quick photo reveals that Burney is no stranger to this process, having been arrested previously for domestic battery and burglary. Lieutenant Jim Main helped bring facial recognition technology to Pinellas in 2001.
You can straighten your head up just a bit. Thank you very much.
At first, it was only used at the precinct.
Hold that pose right there.
But in 2004, the technology was brought into patrol cars.
One more. That's perfect. Hold on. Hold it right there. Okay.
Facial recognition does very fast searches. Basically what the technology does, it maps 128 different points on the face. It measures all the different angles of the face and uses those measurements to convert it then into ones and zeros. Computers can search ones and zeros a lot faster than searching image against image against image. So it does this conversion, and then it searches our database and then some databases that we partner with other agencies across the state. And in about 15 seconds, it brings back some possible matches for the deputy then to determine whether they have that person in front of them.
In January of 2001, fans attending the Super Bowl in Tampa were surprised to learn their faces had been captured by cameras and then scanned against a database of known and suspected felons.
The main issue that people had with that deployment was that you're talking just a public place where, you know, mom and dad and their kids are just going to a public setting, walking around the streets, no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion that they're doing anything wrong, and just taking their pictures and running their images to see if they can identify them.
What about the idea that in public places, the local police will have cameras that are just scanning the crowd, doing or running through image after image after image?
But you see, it is not technology that's going to dictate the use of an application in society. It's society's needs and values. And in my opinion, we can improve security and deliver enhancement to our security without having what we call wide area surveillance. Personally, I'm against wide area surveillance.
Isn't it a difficult line for you to walk? I mean, you're one of the pioneers in developing this technology. You help run a company that, of course, makes money from selling as much as it can the idea of being able to use facial recognition for good purposes. And yet you also are saying that, well, We've got to make sure it's not used too widely because that would endanger privacy.
But you see, the technology is so powerful that it has many, many good applications. Why do we want to focus on the negative of the technology and promote it so that a backlash could come in and would prevent us from actually reaping the benefits of this technology in the areas where it should be used?
What about the idea of Big Brother, which I'm sure you've heard many times whenever you discuss this subject and your development of this technology?
Big Brother is a concern. Big Brother, if let and allowed to happen, will happen. And our job as responsible human beings in society is to make sure that that does not occur.
The conclusion of Big Brother Big Business. The future is now. Science fiction becomes reality.
They make a small incision in your arm where the chip is implanted.
What we do in this next 10 years is going to control our privacy for generations.